chopped off a full week of the hottest part of the summer. So with this cool pattern, so at least we're 1 week closer to it almost being done.
Can save some money, right?
Yeah.
Help the AC bill a little bit.
Oh, I need it.
Anytime we get a pattern change, that tends to be the knee jerk is like, oh, we're just done now.
Yeah.
The weather is never that cut and dry. So it's going to be an up and down, all the way through the fall. So there will be heat that comes back, but it's not with us right now, and it won't be with us for another 5 days, which is cool.
Yeah, I have 90s in my 10-day forecast, so long out there, and it does look like we actually get back above normal. The atmosphere is kind of cool this way, It's been so cold on the West Coast this summer, and we've been so hot here. It's like the pattern has flipped briefly, and now it's hot out west, and it's cool here, and that pattern will flip back the other way eventually.
Yeah, our country is big enough that it's usually like a seesaw to some degree. So usually when one side's up, the other side is down. You have these big long wave troughs that we call them in the jet stream. So it is interesting to see how they were up and we were down, or flip that, reverse it. Either way, we'll gladly take the break.
Yeah, I'm with you on the power bill thing. I haven't gotten my July bill yet, but I am really worried. Yeah, the June one was bad enough. I can't. The July one's going to be brutal. So I was looking at some of my. I have like a Nest thermostat, which a lot of people have. So like last week, I actually during the heat wave when we were 100 degrees, there was one day during the heat wave, my air ran for 16 hours on the 27th. Over the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, same unit in my house only ran for 3 hours. So I'm loving that huge cut in the power bill. So this should be really nice coming up here in the next couple of weeks. But Tim, one thing we'll be watching the wedge this week. We'll watch the flood threat and the tropics, and I think that'll be the key thing on the coast. Even though that 50% chance coming off the Africa coast, people have their attention. I think the homegrown system is the one that will likely end up being our biggest impact. What say you?
And definitely keep an eye on that if you have beach plans. People still going to the coast a couple weeks before back to school.
Yep.
It's always crowded out there. If this is you, I wouldn't cancel, but I would be watching, right? Just keep an eye on things and know that you might have some indoor time at the coast as it looks right now. Probably wouldn't blow up into a big, strong evacuate kind of a storm, but we'll watch and see if you have to have some board game days.
Yeah, I think that's perfect, Tim. Well, thanks again, guys. We're running out of time. We'll see you tomorrow. Remember, if you want questions for Tim and I to answer, look at that number on the screen, 704-329-3600. Maybe we'll answer them tomorrow.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us here for Live Impact News. I'm Vanessa Rufus. Right off the bat, we want to talk about a big local story which is developing as we speak here tonight. Y'all might remember over the last several weeks, we've covered some of the community reaction and response, and even some of the criminal developments in the case of Gabriel Ennis, who's a 16-year-old local junior firefighter who was killed back in June in a shooting. Well, tonight we're learning about new efforts to honor his legacy and also help out the community. I want to join now with our Tradisha Woodard, who's joining us here in the Live Impact News studio. So Tradisha, you're speaking with Gabriel's family tonight, talking about ways that they are trying to basically have his legacy live on in a positive way.
Yeah, so Vanessa, it's a really tough time. You know, we do stories like this all the time where families are dreadfully impacted because they lost their loved one, and they talk about, you know, grief and whether or not time heals. So for this family to actually take that grief and try to turn it into a mission, turn it into something positive, something that's hopeful, I thought it was really, really unique. They said that Gabriel had a big heart and he was all about giving, and he loved children. So after the funeral, his sister came up with this great idea saying, okay, moving forward, I want to find a way to honor my brother. I don't want to be mad at the 17-year-old that's behind bars. I don't want to be grieving, and it's heavy. Mm-hmm. So she wanted to turn it into something positive. So now they're doing this school drive, and they're raising money, and they're giving back to kids ahead of the new school year.
That's really great to hear. I mean, we've covered this story at length. You mentioned the fact that there is another teen who is in trouble with the law now for alleged, involvement with the shooting death. That person they've been charged with first-degree murder in this case. That is really, disheartening to hear, the fact that you have someone so young. I mean, did his family comment on that fact?
Yeah, they actually did. That court date is set for August 14th, and one of the things that his sister said was, even though my brother is buried, obviously, this kid lost his life too. So there is two losses here in this incident. And she just talked about obviously getting justice for her brother, but trying to once again turn this into something positive. It's better for their mental as well.
Yeah. We've talked before too, with the family as they've shared more about, who Gabriel was. He was 16. He was a junior firefighter. He was with Cordova Fire and Rescue. Clearly someone who had a heart for the community if he was already serving, at that young age. What did they tell us about, Gabriel as a person and how this school drive will align with who he was?
Yeah, one of the things they echoed the most is that he loved children and that he had a big heart. They said there wasn't a stranger that he met. So everybody who knew him loved him, his connection with kids, specifically vulnerable kids with special needs. So they wanted to give something special, a contribution through Gabriel is what they say. That's how they're keeping their name alive. So they're hoping as they gather these supplies, it's somehow a piece of Gabriel going to school with them for the first time too. So they're doing it through the next generation.
How did they say that folks can get involved? What do they need?
Yeah. So any school supplies, maybe you want to get involved, or maybe you're just a parent in need of school supplies. We're going to have on our website the address when the incident is, when the school drive is taking place. We're going to have the address, and then we're also going to have the address where folks can drop off some school donations: pencils, pens, papers, book bags, notebooks, anything. They are accepting it all.
Well, is it safe to say that this would be remaining in the community of Richmond County? Or
Absolutely.
Because he went to the senior high there, right?
Yeah. They talked about how there's a super big need, especially with the amount of vulnerable kids who are in need of school supplies as schools prepares to ramp back up. So they are hoping to really just pour back into their community, specifically for kids who need it the most.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing the story and also learning more about how folks can help out. You'll be putting this together for our 11 o'clock newscast tonight.
That's right.
All right. Tradisha Woodard, thank you so much.
Thank
we
you.
Appreciate it. And folks, stay tuned here on WCNC Plus throughout the rest of Live Impact News and into our 11 o'clock news to see more on Tradisha's piece about how loved ones are trying to have 16-year-old Gabriel Ennis's legacy live on with something positive impacting the community. All right, so underway right now, we have a couple of interesting feeds that we've got here on Live Impact News. I know that we're watching a meeting locally, and there's some big news that's been happening from Texas regarding redistricting. So we're seeing a couple of those feeds in the background here. We've also, got what we think is going to come up in just moments. I think Texas Democrats are set to make an announcement regarding some of the political moves made to try to avoid this redistricting vote. In fact, late this afternoon, as we expected, the Texas General Assembly reconvened, and it did sound like lawmakers voted to issue those civil arrest warrants for the Texas Democrats, who essentially decamped, as they called it. They left the state in an effort to prevent getting the quorum needed to vote on the redistricting. So we're going to hear some reaction, presumably in moments, from Texas Democrats regarding those latest developments. We've also got coming up, and I don't know if this is still underway, my feed on my end is glitching, the Vivek Ramaswamy town hall. So that's actually happening as we speak as well. You remember he ran for president. He is a gubernatorial candidate right now in Ohio, and he's having this town hall event. Keep in mind some of the context here. This is coming a week after that viral brawl caught on camera that happened in downtown Cincinnati, one that has prompted a lot of questions about public safety. Let's listen in right now.
Directly. Speak in your mind in the open. Say it with the spine. Say it with vigor, but say it with respect. And part of respect means that you respect your neighbor enough to tell them what you actually think, not some fake woke-washed or other-washed version of it. That's what brings us together. That's what makes.
Okay, folks, it does look like the Texas Democrats are holding their press conference, which we just previewed for you moments ago. That has begun. Let's listen in right now.
Do that because we believe in what you're doing. You are courageous, and we are here to support you. What you're doing and what they're trying to do in Texas affects you guys, but it affects the whole country. When you want to remove 5 Democrats, that hurts us in the House. As you can see what happens now when there's not enough Democrats to stop the big ugly bill and all the other stuff that they've been doing. They are trying to destroy our democracy, destroy fairness in our country, and unfortunately they're starting with Texas. But we want you to know we stand by your side. I don't want to lose my fabulous colleagues. Some of them are here with me. Jasmine Crockett, my classmate, Mark Veazey, Al Green, Julie Johnson. We want all of them to stay, plus the others that they're trying to gerrymander. So with that, I want to give a minute to my colleague from Illinois, Congressman Roger Krishnamurthy, to bring his greetings.
Thank you, Congresswoman Kelly, and thank you to all of our friends who have come here to seek refuge as they deal with, I think, a man-made catastrophe and crisis for democracy. I have 3 points I want to make. First of all, when a flood devastated parts of Texas, leading to 130 people dying, including children, did Greg Abbott call a special session to create disaster relief for people? No. Did he call for a special session to help families rebuild? No. Did he call a special session to strengthen warning systems so that people could avoid the catastrophe that happened during the flood? No. Instead, he did the bidding of Donald Trump, who asked him to basically banish Democrats from the federal delegation representing Texas in Washington, D.C. My second point is this. Greg Abbott, don't mess with Texas. Don't mess with Texas because the people here represent Texas. You can silence them, you can smear them, you can saddle them with debts and fines, but you cannot intimidate them. And these people will not be intimidated. So I lead to my third and final point. Don't mess with democracy. Don't do it. You can play that game in Texas. You can gerrymander the hell out of that map. Guess what? Two can play that game.
That's right.
Others will do exactly the same thing and neutralize what you're trying to do in Texas. It's not going to work because we are not going to let it work. We are going to stand strong with these courageous individuals who are standing behind me, who've come to Illinois knowing that the rest of the nation is with them. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Congressman. And as he said, we are ready to fight fire with fire. No butter knife to the gunfight. We are ready to bring the fire, bring the heat. We can do that too. And it's absolutely my pleasure to introduce Chair of the Progressive Caucus, Representative Ana Maria Rodriguez Ramos. I got that out.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being with us today. Buenas tardes. Soy Ana Maria Rodriguez Ramos, diputada del Distrito 102. I am the state representative for House District 102. And we're here fighting because instead of Governor Abbott and Texas Republicans focusing on working families and the negative impacts of Trump's horrible bill, as I shared and I expressed with my colleagues the other day, with his horrible bill, my daughter just got an organ transplant 6 months ago. With his horrible bill, I don't know that we can pay 75% increase in premiums. It is going to hurt my family and thousands of families statewide and nationwide. His horrible bill is hurting working families. When families can't afford to buy groceries, when families don't know if they're going to be able to keep their children alive because they can't no longer afford health care, that is what our focus should be. But instead they're focusing on pushing these racist radical redistricting maps. And why is it racist? Because 70%, over 60% of our Texas population are Hispanic and African American and our Asian community. That is the largest African American population in the country is in Texas. The second largest Hispanic population in the country is in Texas. But they want to silence our voice. This is nothing short of blatant racism. They're going to cry and say, no, you can't say that. In fact, they've punished us. Congressman Crockett knows that. They don't allow us to say that word on the House floor. They say, you can't call us what we are. Use another word. But that is what you are, and that is what you are trying to do. Hurt these working families. Trump's policies when he's kidnapping families of color in the streets, that is nothing short of racism. He is coming after all of us who don't look like him and his Republican colleagues in the Texas House. So I will now introduce beautiful Congressman Al Green, wonderful congressman from Houston, who's going to really share a little more, enlighten a little more about the impact of these maps. Thank you, Congressman Green.
Thank you, Representative Rodriguez Ramos. Friends, after her profound words, it just seems to me that we ought to give her another expression of appreciation. And to all of my colleagues who have traversed some great distance to be here, and I'm talking about the state representatives now, I consider you my colleagues, it's easy to do something when you don't have to do it. They are leaving their homes, they're leaving their families, they have jobs, they have responsibilities, and this is courage that is uncommon. And with this kind of courage, they ought to be commended as well. Let's give them a big hand, please, for your uncommon courage. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yes, we have a challenge before us. Dr. King reminded us that life is an inescapable network of mutuality, tied to a single garment of destiny. What impacts one directly impacts all indirectly. And that's what we're facing now, this challenge of it not being Texas. It's not just Texas. It really is the United States of America, because if they succeed in Texas, they will take this to other states. They will take this to the county court level. They will take this to the commissioners, the school boards. They will take this across the length and breadth of the country, but they'll do it if we only stand by and watch them. But if we take a stand, we can stop them. That's what we're doing today. We're taking a stand, and we're going to prevent them from going forward in Texas. All right. And here's why we have to take this stand. Because one vote makes a difference. That's right. One vote makes a difference. It was one vote that allowed them to get the big, ugly steal out of the House. One vote. And it was one vote in the Senate with the vice president casting that vote that allowed it to get out of the Senate and back to the House. Friends, I regret to tell you that the 18th Congressional District was not represented when that first vote took place. It was not. If the 18th had been represented, they'd have to find that one vote someplace else. One vote makes a difference. And in Texas, they are trying to silence 5 Democratic voices in the Congress of the United States of America. They have already made an effort to eliminate some of the districts. They are no longer going to be, there's no possibility of Democrats being elected. They are doing what the president has insisted be done, and I want you to know that we didn't introduce the race card. When this message was sent by and through the Justice Department to the state of Texas, to our Attorney General, they mentioned the race card because they talked about racial gerrymandering. They brought it up, and when they brought it up, they did it knowing that this was a buzzword. It was a trigger. They knew that if they could use the race card in Texas, where we've had white primaries, and when the Supreme Court said, well, you can't do that, then we had white pre-primaries, where we've had all sorts of obstacles to voting. They knew that that's a buzzword that people would respond to in Texas. But we are going to respond to that buzzword by telling them that your racism is not going to change democracy in the state of Texas, is not going to change it in the United States of America. Racism is going to be met with our taking a stand for democracy. You take a stand for racism, we will stand for democracy, and we will win. We will win. Democracy is going to win. My final comment is this. As you know, the president and I don't exchange Christmas cards. The president is a very vindictive person. He is a don't bring me any bad news person. Just fired someone because he got bad news. We, friends, have to understand what we're dealing with. And if we understand what we're dealing with, we can stop what we're dealing with. We're dealing with an egomaniacal person who believes that he has to be right, and if he's not, then the world is wrong. He would impeach judges that differ with him. He would fire people that don't give him good news. He would change congressional districts just to get rid of people that have challenged him. But I want you to know this. The challenge is not over. It is not. Yes, we have brought challenges against him, and I want to assure you of this. There are no circumstances that will prevent me from continuing to challenge the bigotry emanating from the presidency in policy. I will not stop, and I promise you, this president is going to, he's going to be brought down. Yeah. He's going to be brought down. He has to be brought down. And I don't mean physically. I'm talking about politically. We will bring him down. He will be impeached again. I thank you.
I'd like to bring on Chair Jessica Gonzalez.
Hello, again, my name is Jessica Gonzalez, and I'm proud to represent House District 104, which includes parts of Dallas and Grand Prairie. I'm also honored to be the chair of the Texas House LGBTQ Caucus. Look, when we all got elected here, we were elected by our constituents, and that's who we work for. They elected us to represent their voices, their family, and their future. And that's exactly what we're all doing here by denying Texas Republicans quorum in order to pass these rigged congressional maps. And so I'm very proud to stand united with my Democrat colleagues. Look, one thing I do know is that Texas House Democrats know how to fight. We've been in these fights before. We have to fight every single day when we're in regular session. And so we have our sleeves are rolled up, and we're ready to take this fight wherever it's going to take us, because our communities our state and our nation is definitely worth fighting for.
Absolutely.
And we know this is not about providing flood relief, because these congressional maps have been pushed. We have not had real discussions about providing folks relief who are in desperate need of it. And so we're just not going to stand for it. We're tired of it, and we're not going to let them do that to our communities. And so I'm proud to stand here united with my Democratic colleagues. You know, when I first got elected to House District 104, I was the first Latina to ever serve in that position, and I'm very, very proud of that. My community is a majority-minority district, and so when we do these kinds of, play these political games that Republicans want to play with our communities, it hurts our people like in my district, and the districts of people that are standing behind me. And we take our jobs serious, unlike Texas House Republicans. So thank you. And next, I want to introduce our former colleague, Congresswoman Julie Johnson.
All right.
The most beautiful group of people. It is it's a big honor for me to be standing here as a former colleague, a former member of the Texas House, a former quorum breaker, and protesting the right to vote in Texas, and now as a member of Congress. And what is happening is so outrageous. And I want to talk a little bit about my district and the impact that this is having. So I represent Texas' 32nd Congressional District. It's an urban district. It's 80% in Dallas County, a little bit of the Collin County, the county to my north, and a little bit of Denton County. But for the most part, it's very urban. There's not a single farm plot in Texas 32. They have divided it into 7 new congressional districts. 2 that go all the way to the Oklahoma border. 2 that go almost from Dallas to the Louisiana border. And then the others in a mishmash of rural Texas. My district I have 7 cities that have been dismembered, paired with 6 to 7 rural counties. So what they've done is they've taken a group of people, predominantly minority, I have a minority-majority coalition seat of a city, and then paired it with 5 to 6 rural counties that have no commonality of interest whatsoever. The issues facing the constituents of my district are very different than the issues facing the constituents of Upshur County, which is in very East Texas. They're very different issues. I have 62% renters. That county is mostly rural white farmers. And the list goes on and on. And so what is happening here is the most blatant, racist disregard for the voters of Texas. Because let me remind you, and I was there, we were all there when these maps were passed in 2021 by unanimous votes of the Republicans who've just now issued arrest warrants for my dear colleagues and friends. Because they all swore at that time these maps were the most beautiful maps. They were perfect. They didn't disenfranchise voters. They've had lawsuits, they've filed affidavits, they've given depositions, they've sworn and all at waste to Sunday that these are the perfect maps. Until President Trump gets nervous because his poll numbers are in the crapper. Because he knows that the American people are not swallowing the crap he's pushing. Because he's harming millions and millions of people. His poll waters are underwater, and he knows he's not going to win. He knows he's not going to win in November of 2026. So rather than push for policies that the American voters want to support, they come back with this rigged up thing, a DOJ opinion that implies that these Texas maps now have to be completely dismembered. And it's wrong. And the voters of Texas, I hope, are listening. Because the courage that my dear friends and colleagues are showing by saying, no. We're protesting. We're putting ourselves at great risk to stand up for democracy and America. And voters, I hope you're seeing that. I hope you're feeling it. I hope you are experiencing the courage and the hope that these folks are providing. Because what is happening is an attack on our democracy throughout this entire country. And I'm so pleased and so proud that they're standing up for us all. Because what's happening here now, it's cracking throughout other states. You know, we're having a national conversation over voter rights. And I want to encourage California and New York and Maryland and Washington State to say, you know what, our gloves are off. If war is war, and Democrats, if y'all are going to do it in Texas, we're going to do it here, and this is a national war. And Democrats are no longer going to sit by handcuffed. This is an all-out war, and everything is on the table. And that is a message I really hope gets out loud and clear. But at the end of the day, I want to say thank you to each one of you for what you're doing. Know that the Democrats of the United States House of Representatives are 100% behind you. I hope you're feeling it. And I hope you out there, the voters, are getting a little glimmer of why politics is important. And that if you, they say, well, I don't know, politics doesn't affect me. I'm saying, honey, it does. If you don't do politics, politics will do you. And here we are. Politics is doing a lot of people right now. But you know, I want to end with this. We're all very proud Texans up here. Most of us. Some are proud. I'm proud of you. But we're all very proud Texans. We come from a state of great pride. And I never thought, as a Texan, as an elected member of the Texas House of Representatives, and now as an elected member from Texas to the United States House of Representatives, that I would see the governor of the proud state of Texas bend a knee to a felon from New York. Never thought I'd see the day, but here we are.
Now it's my honor to introduce Rep. Busey.
Thank y'all so much. I'm so proud to stand with my colleagues in the Texas House and our friends in Congress. We're all here tonight, not on vacation. We are here fighting and actively working for our constituents and the people of Texas. This is us on the job, fighting for our constituents. Hi everyone, my name is...
Hi, everyone. If you're just joining us here on Live Impact News, this is Vanessa Rufus. We've been listening to Texas Democrats giving an update on their decamping away from the state of Texas to other states, and primarily we see here as this press conference is being held in Chicago, Illinois. They are going to states with Democratic governors. This is kind of by design here, as we're understanding. Just this afternoon, Texas Governor Greg Abbott, as he suggested could happen, saw come to fruition Republican lawmakers reconvening today and issuing civil arrest warrants for these Democrats for not being in the state. The governor there saying that they're essentially shirking their duties. However, these Democrats, we've heard, basically defending their stance, saying that they are not in favor of this redistricting plan that, as you would see, would add 5 new Republican-leaning U.S. House districts. And you've got them kind of explaining their situation. We hear this is a pretty costly venture for them to be out of state and basically waiting it out, essentially delaying what would be the inevitable of this redistricting passing. But let's listen back in here on Live Impact News. We'll jump in with any breaking developments.
The decade, just because they're scared that voters won't reelect them, that's betrayal. Look, the governor can lie all he wants, but we're not running away, we're running into the fight. Yeah. Texas Democrats are standing up for one of our most basic American principles, the right to representation. Yes. So no, this isn't political theater, it's survival. Because if we lose the power to choose our leaders, we lose everything. We broke quorum because this isn't just about maps. It's about power. And in Texas, the power still belongs to the voters. I want to thank y'all so much, and I have the pleasure of introducing one of our great champions, Congressman Mark Vesey. He's a passionate advocate for Texas's 33rd district. He's fighting for working families, voting rights, and economic opportunity. And if you didn't know, he's in fact is the founder of the Voting Rights Caucus in Congress. He's from Fort Worth to Washington. Congressman Vesey has shown us that he will stand up to Donald Trump, he will fight for Texans, and he will fight for Americans. Please help me welcome our good friend, Congressman Mark Vesey.
Thank you, Representative. And you know, the press, y'all been getting something wrong. I've been seeing a lot of headlines that say that these Texas legislators are fleeing. These Texas legislators ain't fleeing. These Texas legislators are fighting. Yeah. They are fighting corruption, they are fighting racism, and they are fighting rigging. And that is what it is all about. And I got to tell you, it's crazy to think about this. 60 years ago today, the Voting Rights Act of 1965 declared that no American, no Black American, no Latino American, no Asian American, no working class voter would ever be denied their voice in our democracy because of who they are or where they live. But that promise is under attack today by Greg Abbott bending a knee to Donald Trump. And it is absolutely wrong, and it is embarrassing. And I got to tell you, I'm proud of these heroes that are standing behind me, some of which are my former colleagues in the state legislature, where I spent 8 years before going to Congress. And I got to tell you, I came into Congress right after the 2003 mid-decade redistricting, when a group of Democrats had just left the state to block discriminatory redistricting that had happened literally just before I was sworn in. And I got to tell you, we made a big mistake back then. We had no blue states back during that time period after Tom DeLay did his mid-decade redistricting. We didn't have any Democratic states that followed suit. And so it gave them the incentive to do it again, and that's why we are here right now. But I got to tell all of my friends that are Republicans that are out there watching right now, the game has changed, baby. It ain't the same no more. It ain't the same no more. We are going to match Donald Trump's energy when it comes to redistricting. As it was said before, it's been Democrats, we have shown up to a gunfight with nothing but good intentions and dull knives. And that era is over. We are not going to unilaterally disarm. And that's what's different this time around. And so to the governor of this state, of Illinois, the governor of California and New York, thank you for standing tall with us. We need our other Democratic governors in New Jersey, New Mexico, Maryland, Jersey, Maryland, Oregon, and Washington. We need for them to stand with us now also. This is serious business. This is absolutely serious business. Democracy is at stake here, and we have to keep fighting Donald Trump each and every step of the way. With that, I now call back to the podium Representative Harold Dutton, who I served with out of Houston. Harold?
Good afternoon, everybody. Let me start by saying my name is Harold Dutton. I'm from Houston. Most people say I'm from Fifth Ward. You'll understand that. And I guess that's true. One of the things I learned in Fifth Ward, about the 7th grade, was that we learned that in order to have democracy, it had to be of the people, by the people, and for the people. But in Texas, what we've changed that to is we're going to have democracy by being of the party, by the party, and for the party. That's right. That's absolutely crazy. And I want to correct something, and I think Representative Vesey said it. We're not running from anything. We're trying to make sure that when democracy is in Texas, It is going to be of the people, by the people, and for the people. And secondly, if you see us running in a fight, we chasing somebody. We ain't running nobody. We're just not running from anybody. Now, let me end with this. I'm here because one of my constituents told me, she said, well, if you all are going to hang separately, you might as well hang together. And so I'm here with my colleagues because I don't think we're going to hang. Because another constituent said to me, Representative Green, said, you know the story in the Bible about Haman and Mordecai? Haman built the gallows for Mordecai. And guess who they put on the gallows first? Haman. And so I think all of this is going to backfire on these Republicans because I think they have raised democracy issues so far and so high that the people in Texas now are getting the message, and that's one of the reasons we're here. I'm thankful for the Illinois delegation. I have worked with them before. My first cousin was Monique Davis, who was a member of the Illinois delegation for a long time. She said to tell you all hello too because she wanted to come over. I had to stop her from doing that. But again, I think that the challenge for us is really to make sure that our people get to vote. And we're going to do that. And with that, let me stop and introduce me. No, I'm going to introduce Sojourner Truth, better known as Jasmine Crockett.
Will be your last and final speaker, but let me tell you something. I want to make sure that I make it clear who these people that are standing behind me are. Because I don't think that the American people truly understand the amount of sacrifice that these warriors and heroes are making right now. Most people don't understand that in the Texas House you only get paid $7,000 as it is as a salary. But these people are saying, listen, we are going to do our job because we understand our oath, unlike those that serve on the federal level and are Republicans, as well as those that serve in our current Supreme Court and happen to have been appointed by Republicans, as well as those that serve in the Texas House right now and happen to be Republicans. These are people that understand what it is to be a representative. They understand their constituencies, and instead of trying to stomp on them, they want to do everything that they can to stomp for them. And so that's why they're here. Now let me say, this governor talks a lot of noise, and I made sure that I put up my warrant from 4 years ago to make it plain that they talk a lot of noise, but these guys are weak. That's why they're over here trying to bully people. Bullies are always weak. The difference is they expect Democrats to kind of be the nice guys that we are. They expect us to take the punch and say thank you. Well, I am here to tell you, not only are we going to punch back, but we're about to beat you down. That's right. We are going to win. I'm going to tell you why we're going to win, because people are tired. And as it's already been said, we got a few truth tellers that came before us. A number of them came out of Texas, so I need y'all to understand that maybe you haven't learned these amazing warriors' names, but you will know their names. Y'all know how the president feels about me. Got my training ground right there in Texas. We know that there was another amazing black woman out of the state of Texas by the name of Barbara Jordan that had to check another corrupt president by the name of Nixon. So I'm here to tell you, just like I told a group of folk in Arizona yesterday, Frankie Beverly and Mays said it best. We are one. For everyone that's been asking, where are the Democrats? Well, here they are. For everyone that's been asking, where is the fight? Well, here it is. But let me tell you something. Don't leave them out on a ledge by themselves. They need to know that you, the American people, stand with them because they are standing for you. There's so many people that they will never meet, but they understand the importance of making sure that they have a voice when it comes to their government. They understand the importance of standing for what democracy is and making sure that it does not fall by the wayside. They understand that we have a Timu Hitler in the White House right now that thinks that he is going to become the dictator of the United States. Well, I got another thing to tell you, sir. The Democrats, no matter whether we're talking about these Texas House Democrats, or whether we're talking about the governor from Illinois, the governor from California, or whether we're talking about New York, or I can go through the states, and it's not just the governors. It is the state houses. It is the state senators. It is those congressional delegations that are saying, do what you gotta do, and I will fight, and I will win, and I will earn my seat back to the people's house in D.C. I am here to tell you that time is up for playing in our faces. The Democrats are not going to stand for this any longer. We know that we are standing for the people, and so long as we stand for the people, I absolutely believe that people are going to stand for us. So I just want to be clear. Do whatever you can to support these heroes, because they are the ones that had to leave their families. They are the ones that have warrants out for their arrest. They are the ones that are doing things that, honestly, a lot of other people do not have the audacity to do. So make sure when you talk about them, press, put some respect on their names. I appreciate y'all. That's it? Oh, yeah, closure. Oh, we're done. We're done.
We're
No, we're done. Yes, we are. We done. That's what it says.
We were supposed to have Ron do the closing. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Sorry.
I am State Representative Ron Reynolds, and I'm proud to serve as the Chair Emeritus of the Texas Legislative Black Caucus under the great leadership of our Chairwoman, Barbara Gerben Hawkins, and as Vice Chair of the House Democratic Caucus under the great leadership of Chairman Gene Wu. And we're all united, standing on the right side of history. You know, Congressman BC's right. It was 60 years ago that the Voting Rights Act of 1965 was passed into law. And it was signed by a great Texan by the name of Lyndon Baines Johnson. But that Voting Rights Act didn't come easy. It came as a result of people who made the ultimate sacrifice, people who we may remember, like Congressman John Lewis, who made good trouble. He risked his life to end Jim Crow. He did everything with other freedom fighters. They took freedom rides. They sat at lunch counters. They did everything they could to end poll taxes and literacy tests. And thank God, many of us here today would not be here but for the Voting Rights Act of 1965. It was, as Congresswoman Crockett said, Barbara Jordan, who was the first African-American congresswoman from the South since Reconstruction. She was only there because of that bill. And here we are on the right side of history trying to stop the Texas steal by Abbott and Trump. They want to take us back. They literally want to take us back by disenfranchising black and brown communities. And we say no. No, we say hell no. Not on our watch. We will not allow you to turn back the clock. We're going to continue to fight. We're going to continue speaking truth to power. We're going to continue doing everything we can to protect the precious fundamental right to vote. And I will end with this. Our scripture teaches us in Proverbs 31:8-9 to speak out for the one who cannot speak, for the rights of those who are doomed. Speak out. Judge fairly, and defend the rights of oppressed and needy people. Ladies and gentlemen, I submit to you that the Democrats are going to keep speaking out. We're going to call out the racist gerrymander that President Trump and these MAGA extremists like Trump, like Abbott, want to push down our throats. Not on our watch. We're not going back. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I want to say, give a special thank you to the IBEW for hosting us, and thank you for all the kindness and the Illinoisans who have been so nice to us. We're not going to do group questions. Members will be available for individual interviews if you want, but we do, the Democrats, our House Democrats do actually have to make another meeting, so we have a limited amount of time here.
Folks, here on Live Impact News, you've been listening into this briefing by Texas Democrats as they have decamped to other states. This briefing actually taking place in Chicago, Illinois. We've mentioned the Dems here making this effort in order to avoid reaching a quorum in the State House there in Texas in an attempt really to try to prevent a vote on redistricting plans, which we have mentioned would add 5 Republican-leaning districts to the state of Texas. Important to note as well that as of this afternoon, they are now facing fines. They're also facing civil arrest warrants that are out. But as we mentioned, they are in other states. They are specifically in states with Democratic governors who are likely not going to comply with those warrants to return Texas Democrats back to the state. We're going to keep you updated on that. Meantime, we want to keep you updated on local headlines here. We had some breaking news this evening, so we wanted to make sure that you had this information as there is a possible arson investigation underway out of Huntersville. Take a look right now. We've got some pictures that police are sharing. This man we see on the right side, authorities say he's a person of interest in a larceny and also an arson. Happened this morning near Lake Norman Charter School. Police say there's a Ford F-150, which you see on the left side of your screen. It was seen pulling onto the school campus around 6 o'clock this morning, and it left with a stolen cement mixer. Now, we mentioned the arson here. Huntersville Fire said it responded to a fire in the same area around that time. And so now authorities think that these incidents are connected. That fire, we should mention, did destroy some sports supplies for Lake Norman Elementary. We're trying to get some more information about the impacts of that on the school. But in the meantime, if you know anything about this case, you are asked to call Huntersville Police. The other big news from the day, we saw a deep dive, if you will, into what is going on at the North Carolina DMV. We've covered at length a lot of issues with wait times, difficulty getting service, the fact that there's staffing issues over there, and in general, a lot of folks here in North Carolina have told us that they just dread having to go to the DMV. So today, in fact, just hours ago, the state auditor released findings of a probe into what is going on at the DMV and what sort of changes could be made. Our Kaylin Hagwood dove into some of those findings and also what folks are telling her about what they hope comes positive from this situation.
Well, these audit findings confirm what many North Carolinians have experienced firsthand, an overburdened system that's failing to keep up with the state's growing population.
I've got an audit.
In a scathing new report, State Auditor Dave Bolick described a DMV in crisis with long wait times and burned out employees.
Our DMV needs reform and that action needs to be taken.
The report shows roughly 160 license examiner vacancies.
The DMV has to have more employees in its office, and those vacant positions need to be filled.
The audit also reveals what it describes as a dysfunctional relationship between the DMV and the Department of Transportation. Despite generating 30% of DOT's revenue, the DMV accounts for only 2.8% of DOT's spending. Bolick recommends the DMV become an autonomous agency to gain more control over its budget and explore ways to improve the employee and customer experience. After waiting hours to get a new license at a Charlotte DMV,
I have to wait 3.5 hours for them to call for them to text my phone to let me know I can come in and get what I came for.
We showed Tanya Baker the press conference, and she says she's hopeful it will lead to change.
That sounds absolutely perfect because, the more help, the merrier.
And the auditor says that this is just the first step in a long process. They're going to be working with state lawmakers to seek solutions to the issue long term. Reporting here in Montclair South, Kaylin Hagwood, WCNC Charlotte.
And with that, we want to go across the state line because the first day of school is now in the books for South Carolina students. We had 2 districts in our area that marked some changes to start the school year. We had in Rock Hill, 41 buses that hit the roads. They had fully staffed full-time drivers for the first time in years. And then in Fort Mill, there are some changes to talk about on the traffic staffing front, which we kind of previewed for you several days back. But tonight, we can tell you the district is no longer using those traffic guards. They've got new right turn only rules at some campuses during drop off and pickup time. So parents having to navigate with some of those changes, they were told to either consider the bus system or leave early. But we will hear, of course, police officers with the traffic, directing traffic at the schools at least the first 2 weeks to help. Catawba Ridge Highs, where that will be happening, Fort Mill Elementary, Fort Mill Middle, River Trail Elementary, and Riverview Elementary School. We will keep you updated on how the first week is going there in South Carolina, and keep in mind, eventually we'll be kicking off North Carolina schools going back, and we do have a school supply drive we should always remind you of because it's still underway. It's actually 1 week away is when the closing of that school supply drive will happen. So you still have some time to donate. We're really hoping that we can make a difference for kids who are heading back to school. Sometimes, unfortunately, kids will go back without all of the supplies that they need to be successful. So if you are not able to scan that QR code, by the way, to donate, maybe by chance you're watching on your phone, you can go to WCNC.com/community to learn more about the drive, how to donate. Once again, August 11th is the last day for that. And keep it here throughout the next several days, I should say, because we're going to be doing some phone bank activity to try to boost some of those donations. So we hope you'll join us for that. All right, I believe at the top of the hour we prefaced the fact that there could be a local meeting that we're dipping in and out of. We've got Mooresville for you right now. The board is discussing a couple of interesting agenda items tonight. One would be a potential rezoning of the Earnhardt family farm to make way for some sort of business park. But we've also seen some discussion tonight about social districts and maybe some businesses that might be in there. And yes, you can see the slide on your screen from this presentation that the board is seeing right now. Yes, they are talking about cat cafes. Let's listen in for a bit and we'll jump in with any breaking news, folks.
This is regulated by the state. There are also food safety codes that we have to meet. So for example, we can't have a fully functional kitchen in the cafe. We can bring food in that's been prepackaged by others, but we can't have a fully functional eating area, so to speak. So that's part of meeting those food safety codes. And then again, we talked about those separate ventilation areas, so it has to be cleaned and ventilated. I can talk all day about the community benefits. For any of you who have been to a cat cafe, I'm sure you can speak to them, and we've got a couple of speakers that are with us tonight. But it's a family-friendly attraction. It provides education on animal welfare. It's a very peaceful environment. It increases cat adoptions. With the rescues right now are struggling with adoption, and we've got several rescues in the area, including in Mooresville, that are about to go under because they don't have enough volunteers, they don't have enough money, but they have way too many cats. And so this really helps to increase that cat adoption. It also provides a meeting place for certain events within the community, and we intend to set ours up so that there's a little bit of a co-working space as well. So if people wanted to have meetings in the cafe, they could do so. Just a little bit about National Cat Cafe growth. There's over 150 cafes as of 2024. This has doubled since 2018. And again, we talked about those adoption rates. We see between 30 and 50% higher adoption rates when you have a cat cafe. People can go in and spend some time with the cats. So it's a proven nationwide success. One of the things that I found interesting in preparing this presentation is there's actual websites now that are set up so that if you are traveling, you can use those websites to actually find a cat cafe to go and visit. So obviously one of the things that Town of Mooresville is trying to do as they are working to revitalize downtown is to bring more visitors to downtown. And so this is actually a very proven model. They become destinations because they're unique experiences. We host different events, so we'd love to talk to your event planners. It's very social media friendly. There's nothing like a cute cat on the Instagram, and it appeals to a very broad range of audiences. There's social and economic impact as well. So the more small businesses, we create jobs because we're going to have people work in the cat cafe. We talked before about not being able to have a kitchen, so it gives us the opportunity to have partnerships with local businesses, as well as enhancing Mooresville's identity. I'm going to hop ahead Oh, no, I've still got 7 minutes and 37 seconds for those of you who are timing me, so I don't have to hop ahead. But we'd like to see, obviously, Mooresville lead in the Lake Norman region. We've got cat cafes in Charlotte, Asheville, Raleigh, Concord, Salisbury, Belmont, but we don't have anything in Lake Norman. So this would give Mooresville the opportunity to be on the map, so to speak. And again, all of those different cat cafes are proven in adoptions and tourism. Now, on your meeting on July 30th, there were several concerns that were raised, and so we wanted to address them right on. So does this open the door to insert any animal cafes here? Are we going to have an iguana cafe? Are we going to have a snake cafe? Are we going to have llamas come in that spit in your coffee? The answer to that, and we're going to talk about in just a second. And then the second big question was, would it open the door to commercial oversaturation? Are you going to have a cat cafe on every corner? So does this open the door to insert any animal here type of cafes? The answer to that is no. These are a very specific use case, and we're asking for specific language to be added. And again, we talked about the fact that this is regulated by the North Carolina Department of Agriculture. This regulation is specific to cat cafes, and it does not include any other animal cafes. So there's nothing in the law that would allow for other animal cafes. The second question was, would it open the door to commercial oversaturation? And the answer to that is, again, it's no. This is a unique business model. There are approximately 150 cat cafes in the US, but it's not very replicable, and it's not a high-volume business type. Usually we see oversaturation with types of businesses that have a low barrier to entry, right? They're easy to start, they're cheap to run. You might see vape shops or chains or low barrier types of businesses. Cat Cafe is not that. There's going to be a substantial amount of economic investment that we have to put into the Cat Cafe to do the build out, again, to comply with the North Carolina Department of Agriculture. So it's not necessarily easy to set up. So we're asking for a very narrow change. We're not asking to loosen zoning for all other types of businesses. It's a very proven business model. And what we have seen in all of these different areas is that these cat cafes remain a one-of-a-kind in each locality. We don't see an oversaturation of cat cafes, or like I said, one on every street corner, which I think was part of the concern. So this is a simple change that you all talked about, making it conditional, but it would have a big impact on us. It would be a barrier to small business growth for us. Each location change, if we had to go to landlords and come back and ask for permission for each one, that's costly, it's time consuming. It would be an unfair burden on the property owners of the places that we would like to rent from. So that would lead to maybe some more vacant spaces and fewer leasing opportunities, because it would preclude us from opening a cat cafe in Mooresville if you all decided to go with conditional zoning. It's financially unsustainable for us if you all made that choice. It would delay our progress. It adds way too much startup risk. Our investors are not willing to assume that type of risk. We find that it would be inconsistent and inequitable. Currently, your current zoning allows restaurants and bars, also allows animal shelters. So we're not that far off from it. It's just a little quirk in the way that the zoning is written. So our model, we feel, is much simpler. It's more controlled. But because of that language that's in there, we're just excluded right now. So that's why we're asking for that change. Again, if one of the goals of the Board of Commission is to increase economic development and to revitalize downtown, this would block us from adding to that. Again, we see it would limit tourism growth and, again, that economic development. So therefore, we put a little summary here. This is what your current zoning allows, and this is what we're asking for. So your current zoning allows restaurants, bars, and animal shelters. We're just asking for a small cafe space with a limited number of supervised and adoptable cats. Right now, there's no conditional usage required for restaurants, cafes, or animal shelters, so we're requesting the same, by right approval specifically for cat cafes. Your current zoning allows for high-impact, high-traffic businesses. We're none of those. We're low traffic in a very controlled environment, and so we think that would be a benefit. There's no zoning updates that are needed for a traditional cafe. If somebody wanted to open a coffee shop, they could. So we're asking for a text update to include this as a hybrid business. Your current zoning prioritizes traditional commercial models, right? What we're all used to seeing. We realize that this is different, that this is not something that everybody is used to. We think it's innovative, we think it's mission-driven, and we think that it would encourage more businesses like us that are innovative and mission-driven because they would know that they would have a welcome here in the town of Mooresville. So with that, we are asking you to support what the planning board unanimously recommended, which is option 3. It would allow by right zoning in the following areas: TD, CM, CC, and PD. We're especially interested, obviously, in the traditional downtown area. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Before you step away, any questions for the applicant? Commissioner Qualls.
I appreciate you repeating my comments, that this has opened up the door.
I listened to the whole thing.
So this is just that you're asking for cats, the next person behind you.
Yes, ma'am.
Something else.
So the challenge with that is that,
finish.
oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. I thought you were done.
No, thanks. My question for you is, are the cats, they stay overnight, or they come in the morning and leave at night?
No, in the cat cafe, the cats do stay overnight until they are adopted. But again, that overnight stay does not meet the legal terms of a kennel or a building facility because there's no money that's exchanging hands, which is the legal definition of a kennel or a facility, a boarding facility.
Okay, thank you.
And I actually laughed. I thought you were funny. I thought you were pretty funny, so.
Commissioner West.
Yes, I know it's different than a kennel.
Yes, sir.
The one question, though, that still comes to mind is, what precautions do you take for the spread of feline leukemia?
Oh, that's a great question. We actually have, and during the Planning Commission, our vet actually attended and spoke on our behalf, but she couldn't make it tonight. We actually partner with a vet who has to vet all of the animals before they're allowed into the cat cafe. All of our cats, all of the rescues, in order to be a certified rescue, have to provide a certain standard of medical care. That would include, obviously, deworming, which gross, but let's face it, it happens, right? But also it includes the full litany of vaccination shots. So for example, a cat that has not had a rabies shot is legally not allowed in, oops, my timer, sorry, is not allowed in the cat cafe. They also have to go through all of their kitten shots, and there's a, as you probably are familiar since you asked the question, there's a protocol on that every couple of weeks that they have to have certain shots to be safe.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioners? I have a couple questions, actually. And then I'll have to ask staff whether or not my questions are actually okay. The first one is, like, how many square feet do you foresee the entire establishment would be? How much, and how much of the percentage of that would be the cat part, and how many square feet do you foresee that being?
No, it's a great question, and obviously some of that's just going to be precluded by the space that we find. But typically a cat cafe is anywhere between 1,200 and 2,000 square feet.
Okay.
And your second part was how much is which. So you want to have between 800 and 1,000 square feet for the cat lounge itself. Let me correct myself. For the cat area, that includes the cat lounge, but it also includes a separate area for litter boxes, food, and a place for the cats to retreat if they get overwhelmed.
So let's call it 1,200 to 2,000 square feet, of which 50% would be used for the housing.
Depending on what we find, exactly.
Gotcha.
So that also means that we can't have 30 cats in there,
That's
right?
where I'm getting to.
Yes, exactly. So,
Any other questions? Commissioner Engler?
Not so much a question. There ain't anybody on this board that's got more cats than I do. That's absolutely true. If you need some, let me know. But, you know, and I'm a little bit off since Wednesday, but just the business guy. It's not the fact of what you're asking for. What about the business beside you? And, you know, and just looking at if someone wanted to do this beside an Epic Chop House and what they're doing there versus, and I'm not saying they can't mingle. I'm just saying, how do we control that? So just blanking it, I don't know where we're at as a board, but I just don't see that. It needs to be a conditioned process. Let me tell you, I'm all about animals, and, and rights and what to do with them and how to protect them. I worry about what the neighbor is. I don't really worry about what you're trying to do. It's just, if you were doing it beside me, I'd like to have a little bit of a say, and I would look to my elected officials to at least listen to.
May I address that?
You're more than welcome to, dear.
So I think that's one of the reasons why the North Carolina Department of Agriculture requires these separate ventilation systems. So any type of smells or fur or whatever that could get into a ventilation system, it can't pass through buildings. Some of the other things that we have to abide by are we have to have impermeable surfaces everywhere in the cat lounge and that type of thing. So I think other businesses around us are very protected. The cat lounge itself is usually in the back. So if I was going to the Chop House, for example, which is very good, by the way. But if I was going there, even if I was passing by the front of the cat cafe, I wouldn't see cats in the window, for example, because typically it's in the back of the room.
Sure. And I agree with technology and the fact of exhausting air and bringing fresh air in. But I still, in a downtown setting, that's what gets me. We were talking about just a standalone building. I wouldn't have a problem with that. But it's just when you just blanking me with neighbor to neighbor in the shopping center aspect, that was just a little concerning, but I'm just my thoughts.
Okay. Commissioner Deweese.
I do agree with what you're, I do agree with.
Commissioner Deweese.
Yeah, I applaud the concept. I really like the idea of it. The concern I have and what I haven't heard strong speech about is when we make something by right, we take all the voice away from the public. And I want to make sure that we're very on firm grounding before we tell people this is going to be by right. You will no longer have an opportunity to really push back. Just imagine if that 400 acres was by right for a data center right now, we wouldn't be having any of this discussion. And so I have a concern with moving forward with by right, and it kind of follows along with what Commissioner Dingler has said. That means the neighbors get no vote, they get no voice. Cat places coming in, it is. And they may hate cats. I don't know. But I just think that it's not good business to take voices away from the public. And that's what by rights do.
I think I understand the concern there. I think it's very similar to concern, for example, for someone maybe that's vegan, right? And maybe a steakhouse is going in next door. And so I think by making it by right, you really are preventing us from having this type of business in Mooresville. And obviously that's, a choice that the Board of Commissioners has to make. But I would say, based on the number of comments that you all have, I think this is something that the town of Mooresville is actively interested in. We have had many people who have written into the town in support of this. So I would say that there are more supporters of this than perhaps not supporters.
Any other questions for the applicant? Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it.
Appreciate it. And with that, we're going to we have two who signed up for public comment. First is Catherine Walters. Catherine? Hey, Catherine, you have 3 minutes, okay?
Good evening. Yeah.
Thanks.
First, thank you. I am here to speak to encourage the board to agree to the proposal that would allow the by right zoning for a cat cafe. I think it's a win for Mooresville. It's a business that can bring in a wide variety of visitors and their dollars to multiple local vendors in addition to doing good. For example, I was traveling on a recent vacation. We never actually planned on visiting the small town nearby, but had a few extra hours and with a quick Google search discovered it had a cat cafe. When we visited the town that we weren't otherwise planning on seeing, the cafe brought us in, but then we walked around, we stayed, we shopped about 3 or 4 local stores, and then we stayed for lunch. The cat cafes I have visited when I travel, I have seen bring communities together in a way that few other businesses do. For example, I've seen a construction worker pop in for some relaxation, grab a cup of coffee, and take a few minutes with a smile on his face watching kittens play through the glass. Moms with young children sitting enjoying coffee while their children had, quote, the best day ever, unquote. That was from a 6-year-old. And a group of office workers chatting about how happy they were to get out of the office for a minute, grab coffee, and take time to visit with the cats for some team building and wellness. There are very few business models that will get families into downtown and get workers out of offices. Most cat cafes I visited also had steady activity calendars with things like cat and kitten yoga, book clubs, even speed dating and chess clubs. It brings people, families especially, into downtown. That helps your boutiques, your bookstores, and your restaurants. It's the exact kind of business that you want there. It also brings tourists. For our wedding just outside Asheville, I actually included a cat cafe among recommended activities, and multiple guests made a point to come down from their mountain rentals and their outdoor activities and go visit downtown for it. A business that can draw residents and tourists onto Main Street is a win for everyone. And I saved the best for last. After the Planning Commission meeting, I heard some of the after-meeting small talk. Someone mentioned that their teenager was excited about a cat cafe and wanted to work there. There aren't many businesses in any genre that can make a teenager inspired to work, and is also the kind of place that you want your kid to be working at. I did do a little research, and I heard some of the expressed concerns that there would be concern about market saturation. But from my understanding and extensive travel, it just doesn't seem to happen. The people that do it for the betterment of their community, and I think we can all agree that any business that has a primary goal of making their community better rarely has that much of a massive profit margin to drive excessive competition. The evidence shows that a flood of cat cafes just doesn't seem to happen. The city of Charlotte had 2 cafes, but one closed, and now in the entire city of Charlotte, there is only 1. New York City, recently ranked the cat-friendliest city in the United States, has a total of 8 in the entire greater metropolitan area. To that end, I would strongly encourage you not to make the zoning conditional. You're adding a burden of time and extra cost not required for a number of businesses that I'm sure would be less desirable tenants than a cat cafe, and adding a burden to entrepreneurs who are opening a business to try to make their town better. I remember at the planning board meeting that several members had no idea what a cat cafe was. It's an innovative coffee shop and cafe model that is relatively new, though it's been successful all over the world, and making the zoning conditional would require a landlord not just to take on the challenge of an innovative business model, but then require that landlord to go through likely months of additional work.
Catherine, we appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank
sorry.
you. You're good. No, you did a great job. Got a lot in 3 minutes. Next, Ms. Bronwyn Martin. Thank you,
Good
Bronwyn.
evening.
Appreciate you have 3 minutes, okay?
All right. I'm Bronwyn Martin, and I've lived in the Mooresville area for approximately 24 years, and for most of that time, I have been a part of cat rescues. I've seen firsthand how difficult it is, in particular, to adopt out adult cats who don't do well in cages and PetSmart and that kind of things and showings. Cat cafes have been increasingly popular in our state, and yet we don't have one in the Lake Norman area. They offer a comfort place for drinks and coffee and snacks while adding a safe environment for potential adopters to get to know cats, where especially adult cats can sort of shine. And that's what drives adoptions, is seeing their personalities. Some facts about cat cafes: they exist in 47 states and DC. 2024 saw record growth, with 55 new cafes opening nationwide. North Carolina has approximately 18, and the 3 McTabby ones, which are Concord, Charlotte, and Salisbury, have adopted out 1,900 cats in the last approximately 8 years. More than 75% of these establishments are operated by nonprofits, small businesses, or a combination of the two. These businesses have become so common, they have enough to warrant their own regulations set by designated authorities. As is the case for most of these cafes, this one is a local-driven effort with limited money and resources. The petitioners are hardworking local women with full-time jobs who are still dedicated to make a difference for their communities and the cats. The additional requirements of conditional zoning would have significant and negative impacts on their efforts to lease buildings. Landlords often prefer the simplest route when choosing a tenant and would be unlikely to rent a business to someone who requires extra approval. I attended the local zoning meeting and was delighted when the Mooresville Zoning Board approved by right zoning for the cafe. Their recognition of the unique charm and benefits that the proposed cafe would bring was very encouraging. We have an opportunity to set our town apart with Lake Norman's first ever cat cafe. Please don't squash this local effort with extra red tape, thereby killing something beneficial to the town, its residents, its visitors, and its homeless cats. It is a good thing.
Okay, with that, the applicant gets a rebuttal for any of the negative things they heard from the presentations. Would you care to take a moment for that rebuttal? 5 minutes.
You got to try, right? So I think, when we were working through this, I think the cat cafes that you'll find, and I think the biggest, sorry, I can't remember who it was, I think it was you, Mr. Dingler, concern was, what do you do if there's a restaurant or something like that nearby? You all do have the opportunity to put something in there to give us by right, but to put some type of a caveat in there that says we can't be next to a full-scale dinner restaurant. And we would be okay with that. The problem with the conditional zoning for us is simply it makes the burden of entry into opening a business like this higher and a greater risk than we're able to sustain, and we'll have to go elsewhere, and we don't want to. What the town of Mooresville is doing in the revitalization in downtown is amazing. I mean, you drive through and you start to get excited about what's happening in the buildings and so forth. That's where we want to be. We want to be a part of this. And so if that is the main concern, then what I would urge is that you do a by right, but maybe do a caveat, do some type of a carve out. I'm not sure what the proper planning term is for that, but maybe some type of a carve out that says they can't be next to a restaurant that serves dinner, for example. We would be amenable to that if we did not have to have that other barrier of entry with conditional zoning where we have to work with a landlord and a special request has to be made and it has to go for the town and it can take months and so forth. That's just not sustainable for us.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it. Is there any other questions for the applicant? No? Commissioner Dingler just has a comment. You're okay. I don't think we have any more questions.
Okay.
We've all sit through a lot of public hearings, but at the end of the day, we just did a conditional use product in sense, other than we don't know the location and we didn't tell the neighbors. I mean, we've gone through the process that we knew where it was at already in this process. The presentation is here. Well, if you were downtown, what are you going to do? There's no traffic studies. There's nothing but here's the building. This is what the pictures look like, and we've already seen rough renders and inside. We're just way ahead of the game, in all honesty. Because truthfully, we could have set up, you could have been through the conditional product, and we wouldn't know where it is, and neighbors would have spoke out, or they wouldn't. And this process would have been so much easier than blanking in it and saying, hey, now it's my neighbor and I don't know. What there's an upstairs, what there's a downstairs, what there's a basement. I don't know what that building looks like. And I've never gave anyone the voice to say, hey, you were supposed to protect me in this situation. That's my hurdle. But anyhow.
Appreciate it.
We've got the presentation. We just don't know where we're going with it.
That's okay. I'm going to move on. Veronica, can you come up? I'm going to ask. This may be unfair, so if it is, obviously James can jump in too. I guess that's the question of, is there a manner by which we can put enough things around it to make us comfortable with where we could go? Like, for example, limit the building to be no more than 1,500 square feet and no more than, if it could be 50% used for the cat part. Could it be, to your point, can't be within so many feet of this, and this? So that, from the dais, is an impossible thing. So the question that I put to this board is, if you absolutely are dead set on conditional use, then let's go ahead and let's go ahead and do that. If you think that there's a way to mold this enough, can we table it to our next meeting where we can have something that tackles a few of those questions? I think, because Commissioner Dingler's point, and it was well stated. The great thing about downtown is you know exactly what you have. There's very few things you're going to change, right? So the question then becomes, how do we protect a neighbor from this, this Eddie wanted next to him? Maybe he says, that's the greatest thing ever. Put little suit jackets on them and I'll have a whole nother product, But at some juncture, I think we have to get comfortable that, again, a standalone building seems to be a little different than attached buildings. Would you guys like to take a jump at that, or do you think conditional use is the only way you could ever get comfortable with it, and we could gonna go from there? Commissioner Claus?
Sure. And having adopted 4 cats, I'm all about making this work. I don't think that we have enough details here to make a decision that we want to make it work, but I think we need to flesh it out a little bit more to where it is user-friendly for the applicant that wants to bring this here. We would love to have this here, but we have to be respectful for, to Commissioner Dingler's point, the neighbors. So,
Commissioner Claus, would you offer a table?
yeah, I would make a motion to table this till the next meeting and let us put some more details into it to make it work.
Commissioner Dingler?
I keep turning this off, but I don't know if the applicant has an opinion, because
I'm
in
gonna
my
ask them
opinion
next.
tonight, this will pass with a conditional product. And
Of
you
course.
can get- And you can get on the table and get on the agenda to move forward if you're willing, or we can table it and wait a month and delay you more. So to me, and there may be, I just don't know what language we do, and we have beat horses to death.
We
In a
have.
sense, trying to figure out how to make it work, and I'm all about it. If I need a location and the neighbors had the right to come out tonight and said, hey, I don't have an issue, or it's crickets, I'm fine with it tonight. But the thing is, we can put it on, we can add it, which I think we probably would, or we can table it for a month and then hold up more time.
Amy, would you step forward for a second? I'm going to ask
Doesn't
you.
matter.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Commissioner Dingler. I think that's a good question for the applicant. So,
Yes. Yes, sir.
So to break this out for you, Commissioner Dingler's point is a valid one of, if you truly are going to try to come regardless, even though I understand you said you wouldn't, but, we all sell a little bit when we're putting these things on. And I don't hold that against you, it's okay. He's saying you may be able to get here just quickly by doing the conditional use quicker than you think, especially seeing how you have the support of this board, right? The reason why I offered the other is because if you truly can't do that, then there's no harm, no foul than the table, because we may be able to get enough things together where everybody gets comfortable. And at worst case, you're no worse off than you are right now, because I'm just, with this gray hair, I'm telling you, I'm getting a tone that we're probably not going to pass tonight. So I don't want to see that happen if we have a chance to have something. And I've told y'all before, I know my kids in Chapel Hill love the Cat Cafe. Again, not my thing, but my kids love it, therefore I love it, right? So I need to know which way you want to go with this. Do you want me to move forward to trying to get a table for you? Or would you like to go ahead and withdraw and move to conditional use? Or would you just like to roll the dice and see how the vote goes?
Would we have the opportunity to come back and change it at a later date? So in other words, let's say we start working with landlords and we find that it takes too long. My understanding is that the landlord is the person who has to make the application to the town. Maybe they don't want to go through that. If that process proves to be too onerous, would we have the opportunity to come back and do and request the by right amendment?
You can.
Suggest maybe planning, clarifying, because I think this text amendment is needed in order to move forward with a conditional plan.
That is correct.
Yes. If you decided to allow it, you have to.
We got to pick a
there's nothing in the
horse.
Ordinance.
We either got to change it to where you can go ahead and go by right, or we got to go ahead and change it so you can do conditional use. So the question becomes for you, we can do whichever you want tonight, the conditional use, or you can table it for the by right. I got an idea. Let's just take 2 minutes. Let's y'all have a quick conversation.
Okay.
Okay, we'll take 2 minute rest.
Awesome.
Yep, thank you. Yeah, for sure.
All right, a short recess there at Mooresville Board of Commissioners meeting. Obviously, as you saw, some discussion around this Cat Cafe request and whether that will go forward. We'll hop back in with the meeting once the recess concludes, but we want to hit one of your other top headlines today, locally and really, regionally, I guess, because this is yet another entry into the South Carolina governor's race. We see Congresswoman Nancy Mace making that announcement official today that she is entering this race, joining a bunch of other well-known Republican candidates, including the Attorney General there in South Carolina, Alan Wilson, the Lieutenant Governor, Pamela Yvette, and you also have Representative Ralph Norman and State Representative Josh Kimbrell. So certainly getting pretty crowded. Mace made her announcement today at the Citadel, where she actually made history as the first woman to graduate from that military college there in Charleston from the Corps of Cadets. Let's listen to part of her announcement today.
I'm not here to fold. I'm here to fight for you and your values. Together, we will make South Carolina more prosperous, more educated, more healthy, and more safe. This isn't just a campaign, it's a calling for common sense, a calling for courage, and a call to put South Carolina first. So to the establishment this morning and the cowards hiding behind their long written press releases, buckle up. To the radical left, brace yourselves. And to the great people of the great state of South Carolina, help is on the way. You and me, this is where our mission begins. God is not done with South Carolina, and neither am I. I'm Nancy Mace. I'm running for governor of South Carolina. I will hold the line. I will fight for you, and I will always put South Carolina first. Thank you. Okay. I'm going to unveil some policies in the coming weeks and months ahead. I'm going to roll out the path to prosperity for South Carolina. When I am done with this presentation on some initial policy proposals as governor of South Carolina, we will do a photo line up front. So just a few more minutes, and we will do that patiently. So thank you for your patience. So this morning, I want to unveil South Carolina's path to prosperity. Number one, you all know firsthand that we pay the highest state income tax in the Southeast. Every year, your state legislature says, oh, we're going to cut 1/10 of a point, 2/10 of a point. We're still at 6% or higher in the state income tax. Other states like Florida, Tennessee, Texas have zero state income tax. North Carolina and Georgia, as you can see in this map, are not far behind. Everybody, including Mississippi, are on the fast track to 0% state income tax. There are a couple different ways we can do this, and I will propose more than one way to go to 0% income tax over 5 years. The first thing I want you to know is that South Carolina's state budget is just over $40 billion a year. And there are three different buckets that spending goes into. One is called the general fund. The general fund has been increasing in spending year over year without any pauses or controls in place to give your money back to you in a permanent tax cut. So the first proposal that I have is to freeze the government, the general fund spending at around $11.6 billion. So that would be around 2022 to 2023 fiscal year for South Carolina. If we were to just freeze the general fund spending, and if revenues continue to grow, this at fiscal year 24-25, we expected $13.2 billion. If they continue to grow at this level, we can reduce and give back enough money from the general fund as a permanent tax cut to residents to reduce the state income tax to 0% in 5 years. Now, if we need to accelerate that, we can also look at earmarks. The state has looked at earmarks pre-COVID. Earmarks were around $30 million in 2019. Now, most recently, you can see on the chart here, earmarks in the 2023-2024 fiscal year were $700 million. So if we take a look at, I want to get rid of earmarks, but let's just say we take half of earmarks annually and we don't spend them. That will help accelerate us to getting to 0% state income tax in 5 years. I want to use every dollar above that cap at $11.6 billion to reduce state income tax until it hits zero. We'll pause and reduce or eliminate earmarks to accelerate that process. I also want to mandate that every single state agency find 3 to 4% annually to cut. We know we can find it. If we need to have a program to have early retirement for state government employees, we will do it. If we need to freeze hiring for state government employees, we will do it. This isn't about austerity. This is about building a robust and prosperous future for South Carolina. We know that South Carolina's economy is built on the backs of small businesses. Who benefits the most from a 0% state income taxes? It is the hardworking people of South Carolina, and equally, it is the LLCs and small businesses that are running our state. I will eliminate departments, boards, and commissions that don't serve key functions. Did you know that there are over 250 boards, departments, commissions, et cetera, in the state of South Carolina? I'm not even sure what they do. I'm not sure the state knows what they do, so we will reevaluate that as well. I want to audit all administrative overhead and sunset low-impact and duplicative government programs. The second thing I want to bring up this morning is law and order. Last year, as many of you know, here in South Carolina, we had a sanctuary sheriff and former Sheriff Kristen Graziano. In a red state that said they banned sanctuary policies, not a single statewide elected official in South Carolina stood up and told Sanctuary Sheriff Kristen Graziano no. One person did in federal office. I did that. I was assisted by some of our local leaders here in Charleston County, but not many, not enough. So when I'm governor, we will end all sanctuary loopholes. There will not be a sanctuary sheriff who will step foot in the state of South Carolina when I am governor. If you are a business employing illegal aliens, we will hunt you down and we will find you. Find you and we will fine you $1,000 a day until you learn from your mistake and you employ real, hardworking South Carolinians. We will work with ICE and DHS to provide facilities to house illegals for deportations.
All right, folks, as we promised, we're going to get back to the Mooresville Town meeting where we were most recently hearing about cat cafes being discussed and potentials for allowing, the town rules to let one establishment come. They've resumed the discussion. Let's listen in.
Process typically take?
We will have a great conversation with you tomorrow in planning, and we will lay out a nice plan for you, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
And with that, can I have yes, Ms. Crawford?
We have a pending motion right now on the table.
But it does not have
table
seconds,
It
yes.
does not, so.
Would you like to withdraw your table?
I would withdraw that for a different motion.
Okay. And we're going to do that, and at this moment in time, I'm going to close the public hearing. Okay? And I will ask for a motion, I'm assuming,
Option D, or 4.
Option. We do. Right. That's right. Commissioners, with the option, would you like to move forward with? I need a motion for one of them. Commissioner West, got his finger up first.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve TA 2025-05. To approving the simplified language as prepared by staff. The amendment is consistent.
Nope.
Option 2, where's the other one? There's a new one. Option 4. Okay, strike that. I'll make a motion to approve TA 2025-05 by approving the language as amended during the agenda review, which has been marked as Ordinance D in the presented materials. The amendment is consistent with the town's One Mooresville plan. Specifically, the amendment provides flexibility to the town board to review cat cafes through a conditional rezoning proposal. Furthermore, the text amendment is reasonable and in the public interest, as allowing the use conditionally ensures better compatibility with adjacent properties.
And he said ordinance D, just so you know. Ordinance D, as in dog. D, yes.
Option 4, ordinance D.
D, that's correct. As a motion by Commissioner West, is there a second? Commissioner Dingler. Discussion on the motion.
Just a point of clarification.
Commissioner Clausen.
Because I'm confused with the 14 options we got here, that the option D is indeed the option that requires conditional zoning for every different district.
Cat Cafe.
Is that correct? Okay.
Is that correct?
All right, thank you.
Yep. Commissioner West.
Just, I know, and I know we have these updated ones, and I am aware of the amendment during the agenda review, because I'm the one that brought up the setting of a precedent for it. I didn't mean it to spin into this big of a thing, because I love cats just like anybody else. I love cat cafes, and when Commissioner DeWeese's arm heals up, maybe we'll go do cat yoga together. But at the same point in time, we need to allow others to have input. Their voice needs to be there, and we need to make sure that that precedent isn't set. So that was kind of my intent behind this.
Understood.
Beautiful.
So we have a motion by Commissioner West, a second by Commissioner Dingler. Is there any other conversation on this motion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Right. That was a lot. Hey, y'all, seriously, if get together with staff and give us a time, and we'll make time tomorrow, and we'll get you on the right track, okay? Sound good? Okay. Next, item 8H, consider request from the Planning and Community Development Department to approve resolution scheduling public hearings for land use items. You don't know where they are, okay. Mr. James Coley.
Thank you again. So we have two options for you guys tonight for moving forward on September 2nd with the Brumley Farms project. So the first option in front of you right now would be to remove that from the agenda and hear the rezoning for Ridge Avenue and rezoning for Alcove Road. That is a change of use for Ridge Avenue and then an emergency utility connection for Alcove. The second option would be to just hear the conditional rezoning for Brumley and push the annexation to October. September 15th, the option does not change. That is the Mooresville Technology Park.
Correct. Okay, so just so you know, on the scheduling, on the Brumley, the annexation, the rezoning have two different things. The rezoning could go forward as is. It's the annexation that can't go forward on the September 2nd date. So obviously, the applicant would like us to hear the rezoning on September 2nd and hear the annexation at our next meeting that would allow the clerk and others to get their documentation together. It's obviously before y'all to make that decision. And then obviously the Patterson Farm, Mooresville Tech Park on the 15th. Does anybody have any comments on these? Commissioner Clausen.
Just kind of a clarification on that, just help me to make sure I'm understanding. So what's on the screen, the proposal is for the zoning for Oak Ridge Farm Highway on September 2nd and take the annexation and add it to September 15th?
It would be to move it to October. And well, I guess we could, if you wanted to hear that on the 15th.
On the 2nd would be scheduled for the 15th, it would be scheduled for the first meeting in October. Kind of dependent upon where we are with the documents for the annexation, if that makes sense.
So we would just be splitting them up instead, which is how we used to do in the old days. We used to do them separately.
Right.
We'd be doing it like we used to, hearing a rezoning and hearing an annexation differently.
I was just trying to figure out the dates of.
It will be completely up to us on the 2nd to decide whether we want the 15th or I think that'll have a lot to do with whether or not everybody's signed off on the right parcel numbers.
Right.
Cool. Commissioner Kerker.
I would just as soon have it all at one time. If we don't have the annexation part together yet, I assume do them both together. Splitting up is not my preference.
Anybody else? All right, then. So we will hear Oak Ridge Farm on October 2nd. Okay, I guess. That's going to be the.
We'll just remove it from scheduling
We'll
for
move it
tonight.
today, and then
We'll do that one.
we don't have, it's not. We can get it to the first meeting in October.
Okay. And I go back to the Patterson Farm. I am down with anybody wanting to schedule this whenever, I've obviously stated why I think it's important to not look like we're moving out past an election. Others, some think that, that there's no win here, whichever one we do. So I'm open to whichever one you all decide you want to do. Anybody have anything they want to change with that, or you want to leave it the way it is? And again, I remind the thing, to prove it or to turn it down, we got to hear it, right? We got to hear it to do something with it, right? So
I'm not gonna lose sleep over it either way.
Yeah, me neither.
Whichever way we do it, I'm just saying I like the fact if it needs to come forward, bring it on forward. I mean, I just think I just think from a
Folks, for a little bit of context, this discussion here, one of the items is this Patterson Farm Road item. This is the controversial discussion over rezoning part of the Earnhardt Farms property. I believe it's 400 acres that could be rezoned for a technology park. So they're trying to figure out when they will schedule the public hearing for that. Could be September 15th.
Now I'm on the Patterson Farm. Do you all want to hear that the 15th, or do you want to hear it the first meeting in October? The mid-meeting in October, 2028, it does not matter to me, but we have to decide a time to hear this. And the poor people have been going to meetings and meetings, and I feel like we just have to let them see a yes or no on this.
well, the whole room seems September 15th.
I agree with you. As I try to remember, everybody, I don't get a vote, so I just want to make sure you guys have your right thing. Anybody good?
I think September 15th, let's do it.
15th? Okay. So we're going to accept the scheduling as is with the September 2nd Oak Ridge Farm being moved to October, first meeting in October. And with that, can I have a motion?
Mayor, I'll make that motion.
Mr. West?
I make a motion to adopt the resolutions fixing the date of public hearings for the requests as presented.
Okay, I need a second. Mr. Carricker with a second. Do either of you have any discussion on the motion? Or anybody else have discussion
I
on the
just have
motion?
a comment.
Commissioner Clausen.
Yeah, in regards to the Brumley Farms, I'm just going to ask staff, I'd really like for you to give us a clear detail of why there's this disconnect, that we're not able to certify the information. Was it a delay from the applicant? Is it internally that we have some gaps? What is the problem? We've seen Brumley Farms has been around forever, and they deserve their time to come, but we need to know what's going on. So we'll look for an update from the planning department,
We can address
clerk,
it now.
and the legal office
You wanna address
of what's.
We can address it right now if you'd like to.
No, I'd like to have a detailed, when did we receive the information and that type of thing. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Somebody yell my name? Oh, okay. Then we have a motion made by Commissioner West, a second by Commissioner Carricker. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. I swear I heard somebody call Chris from the back of the room. I'm like, is there any new business before this board that is burning from any one of y'all?
Okay, so there you have it, folks. Looks like a decision has been made on this public hearing for the Earnhardt Farms rezoning. As we mentioned, it's a controversial item in the community there in Mooresville, where about 400 acres would be rezoned from the Earnhardt family farm to be allowed to be used for a technology park, a data center. So September 15th is the date, a few weeks out from now, and that's when the public will have an opportunity to come out and speak with town leaders about their thoughts on the project. Okay, speaking of meetings here, we want to turn to Charlotte City Council. Our Julie Kay is joining us here in the Live Impact studio as we speak. Julie, this was the first meeting that involved new rules that the mayor had basically outlined a couple days ago. So what can we talk about on that front? How did the meeting go?
That was the only thing they talked about. It was about 5 minutes long before they went into closed session, but we did get a bit of a peek into how council members are feeling about everything. And to be fair, they had spent all day long in committee meetings. I mean, they were booked and busy from noon until that all-together meeting was at 6. But you're right, that was the first time they'd met since these new rules had been kind of suggested by Mayor Vi Lyles. That came on Friday in the form of a memo. Essentially what she's suggesting is to improve efficiency, and in light of some of these transparency concerns, having allotted time at the end of meetings for members to bring up things that are not on the agenda, and also having a lot of time for them to propose new agenda items going forward, as well as a time limit on how long people can talk. So 3 minutes, which is not unheard of. That's what the county commissioners do.
Yeah.
But they definitely had some varying opinions on what that looks like.
So the efficiency element, I guess I should ask you, because you cover a lot of these different meetings. I feel like this is probably a meeting that you expect as a reporter to go long. These are pretty long meetings usually, right?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, sometimes I have to come back to the station and edit from here because they go on for so long. I mean, we've seen them go on until basically the newscast starts at 11 p.m. So that's why it was kind of ironic that this one was rather short before they went into closed session.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see how when we go to our first full business meeting, because this was just supposed to be a committee discussion.
Yeah.
What that actually looks like. It says up to 60 minutes. I'm curious to see if that will go the full length, what that would look like. But even today, whereas that's the only thing they talked about publicly, it was really interesting to see what people were thinking. It was really Councilmember Graham and Councilmember Johnson that brought up the most concerns. Councilmember Malcolm Graham said, you know, this basically alluded to this isn't really cutting it. This isn't enough. And Councilmember Johnson brought up, you know, in light of the CMPD chief, Johnny Jennings' payout situation, there was supposed to be more communication between Mayor Vi-Lyles and Councilmember Johnson about transparency going forward. Councilmember Johnson said, you know, that hasn't happened yet. So this memo from you on Friday came as kind of a surprise. So I'm curious to see what that discussion will look like when they actually have that full 60 minutes to talk.
Yeah. I mean, you brought up the transparency question that I was going to kind of ask and see if we could touch on a bit. The fact that it does seem like some of this is coming in response to the backlash over the settlement that happened in closed doors. And there were some, I guess, critiques from within council about how things were handled and communication and how things were decided. It sounded like at the very least one council person felt like she was in the dark about that.
Yes.
So I guess you feel like that was tied to that decision to outline these new rules.
Yeah, and that wasn't specifically referred to in the letter, but I do have what she actually said. Mayor Vi-Lyles wrote, quote, "The past several months have been challenging and that the public's trust in this body has been tested." So that's most likely what she's referring to. There have been some other instances that I wonder if that's what led up to this. For example, the Airport Workers Union wanting to get their new case ordinance on an agenda item and that not ending up on a future agenda. So I'm curious if that's part of why the agenda part was added to this.
Yeah.
So there have been a couple instances over the last couple of months, but I do think the Chief Jennings payout was the biggest one.
Yeah, that's interesting you brought up the airport workers, because I feel like we might have been here in the studio, I think it might have been the night where they essentially weeks and weeks of these workers showing up to the meetings, speaking, having like public comment and such, and then it didn't even end up being discussed, you know, on the actual dais.
Yeah.
I wonder how that sat with folks, and do you feel like the council got backlash on that, you know?
I do, especially because it happened at kind of a last second in a meeting and it ended up needing a tiebreaker vote.
Yeah.
That was one that we had covered extensively because the airport workers had been so persistent in their pursuit. Wherever people stand on that issue, they were there repeatedly, time after time. And so they had gotten a lot of coverage, not just from us, just a lot of attention in general. And so that was a pretty surprising decision, I think, from council. And it was a very controversial one, obviously split down the middle. And so I think that's a piece of it, the Chief Jennings payout. And then, of course, at the same time, there's now an outside counsel that's been hired to investigate the transparency concerns from Councilmember Watlington. So it has been a very testy past few months for council. I don't know that it seems the consensus is that this will fix it. I do think it'll be interesting to see if they decide to continue with this going forward. Basically, this is a test run for the month of August.
Yeah.
And then if they still like it in September, they can continue or they can change it. But that was kind of Mayor Vi-Lyles' response, is like, we have a framework to work with. We can go edit from here. I want to hear your comments. So they were pretty forward with their comments it'll be interesting to see what edits are made to this, because I do expect there to be some changes to this going forward.
Yeah, and I mean, interesting, I'm not saying this is a factor at all, but it is interesting to also understand this is on the backdrop of an impending election where we know the mayor is now, she has announced that she's running for re-election, and you have some other seats that are going to be closely watched as well.
Yeah, every single seat up for re-election. Some surprises. I know Edwin Peacock said he was not running for re-election in that seat. He is filling in for District 6. He's now running at large. So some interesting races that are setting up here. And I think where people stand on this particular issue and their comments on it are going to be a big part of what people think going into this election.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Anything you want to leave us with before we wrap things up on the city or county government front? I know it's been a busy past couple of months for you.
There's no peace, but I will say it was, other than this, short meeting, it was a long day of committees, and so over the next couple of days we'll probably follow up on some things. I know there's some updates on NASCAR stuff, and of course this coming week we have the commissioners voting to put, hopefully, the sales tax on the ballot. They're hoping to do that on Wednesday, so there's a lot going on otherwise. I think people have been concerned that this drama over transparency is distracting from the actual work, but there is a lot of the actual work going on this week that we'll be following up on.
Yeah, I mean, and not to mention, we haven't really even broached this yet, there will be eventually a selection of a new police chief that has to be done at some point in the next, several months.
It's its own can of worms, but yes,
Yeah.
that's going to be interesting. And it will have to happen relatively soon, so we'll have to watch.
Yeah, indeed. All right. Julie, thank you so much. We'll have you back with any new updates, of course, on the policy front. Let's go ahead and, speaking of politics, let's get back to Nancy Mace, a Congresswoman from South Carolina, who is announcing now officially her candidacy for South Carolina governor. We'll pick up with her announcement in progress as we left it off.
$1 fine for this. In not prosecuting pedophiles. We will increase penalties for violent crimes and sexual abuse. We will expand our statewide statistics, our annual report that is provided to the state of South Carolina via SLED and other agencies. Right now, they only want to tell you, they only have the ability to tell you how many arrests they're making in every county. That is going to change when I'm governor, because you have a right to know not only how many arrests the state, local, county, municipalities are making for what crimes, you have a right to know how many indictments were made out of those arrests and how many were prosecuted. You have the right to know how many convictions there are in this state. You have the right to know what the sentencing is. And need I remind you about convicted pedophile Donald Gresh, who was found with 1,900 images of toddlers as young as 3 being raped by animals. He was facing 60 years. And your Attorney General, Alan Wilson, pled down to 1 indictment. He was facing 60 years. They negotiated Donald Gresh, the AG negotiated Donald Gresh's sentencing in 15 minutes. And you know how many days he served in jail? He served 1 day in jail. So the days of pedophiles serving 1 day in jail are over. If you are an AG or a solicitor who thinks it's okay to allow these people to walk the streets and put your kid in danger, that ends, because I'm coming for you. We will modernize our technology systems, maintaining criminal data, and mandate reporting to the Fusion Center. We will aggressively pursue federal grant funding. Most recently in Berkeley County, we assisted Berkeley County with getting a $500,000 grant to hire 3 law enforcement officers to help curtail the use of illegal firearms in violent crimes in Berkeley County. We will do this for every county across the state. If you need resources, we will find them, and we will aggressively pursue them. We will defund any office, agency, or department who refuses to follow state and federal law. The days of rogue judges, rogue solicitors, rogue prosecutors, and rogue attorney generals are over. We will create a mechanism to remove all of the rogue AGs, solicitors, and judges and sheriffs who don't follow the letter of the law. And we will clean up our streets by enacting and enforcing aggressive vagrancy laws. On education, as you all know, I am a high school dropout in South Carolina.
And of course, folks, we have more on Congresswoman Mace's announcement of her bid for South Carolina governor on our website, WCNC.com, inside the WCNC Charlotte mobile app. We're about to turn you over to our next hour of programming. Keep in mind, we have the news at 11 coming up here on WCNC Plus in just a little bit. One of our top stories, how loved ones of a slain junior firefighter are honoring his memory with a way giving back to the community, and you can help. Stay tuned, folks.